Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Roach Wiggle September 21st, 2023. We got a big week coming up, everybody. Next week is the second annual Fall Bugapalooza next weekend, and I'm going to suffer, and it's going to be great. So, just prefacing that, say hello to Tennyson's here early, Magnificent Animals, JoJo's here, Exotic Wilderness, and Alan says I broke my phone screen while trying to turn off the alarm for this SMH. Howdy, omnivores. Anthony Green, welcome. I'm just eating a raw parsnip. I'm quite hungry, guys. So, yeah, we have the auction coming up next weekend. The schedule has been posted in a lot of places, hoping for a huge turnout. Are raw parsnips any good? Yeah, I do like them. They're kind of like a minty sweeter carrot, raw at least. I mean, I like them roasted too, but yeah. So we got a no live stream next week. I'm actually going to update the homepage with that. Tennyson, the schedule is posted on everywhere. Actually, it's at the bottom of everything. I did that way so people would have to scroll down to see the schedule. They have to, scroll through all the rules and stuff to be aware of the schedule. So the schedule has been posted. And it's 3 days this time, another big thing. 3 days in a row. Chain says parsnips are good of snack as any. Chain, I think it's been a hot minute since you've been here. So welcome back. Magnificent Animal says, I like to cook ones, but I usually prefer raw veggies, so I'll give it a try. Yeah, it's pretty good. Exotic Wilderness collected some milkweed seeds to plant for next summer. Yeah, this is time of year to do seed collecting. I really need to do it. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I might do it the week after the auction, take a day off and go collect seeds for my future from the property. Magnificent Animal says, I think he means schedule for which species. Yeah, the schedule for which species is on the blog post, and I think it's in the YouTube descriptions too. Pretty sure it's in the YouTube descriptions. It's all the way down at the bottom of everything. I will read it aloud since what else are we going to do? We have Friday, September 29th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., Mantids, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m., Beetles, 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., Millipedes, Springtails. And, of course, these times are flexible, so there will probably be some may be longer, some may be shorter. Saturday, all day is Roaches from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday, we kick it off with isopods, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and then 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., arachnids, miscellaneous, dry goods, etc. So, Orang Mango says, how exciting. Yeah, it is very exciting, but it's also going to be very tiring for me because it's going to be 3 days in a row. Angela's going to be here the whole weekend taking care of me. Will's going to be here on Saturday doing bug room stuff, actually. I don't know, for at least 8 hours, so there's going to be that. But it's going to be a lot. This is going to be big. It's going to be the biggest out of all the ones that have happened so far. So, rip your sleep schedule. Yeah, I just got to really hope that we wrap things up in a somewhat timely manner each night. It's a legit thing just watching. I can only imagine the actual responsibility. Yeah, more of the packing stuff up afterwards, but I do have to basically sit here the whole time. Maybe I will... maybe by next auction I'll invest in a better chair. This gamer chair is nice, but it leaves something to be desired in comfort in some aspects. So maybe by next time there will be a new gamer chair of some sort, perhaps. So what was I doing? I was going to update the homepage saying there will not be a live stream next Thursday because I'm gonna see everybody for 3 days in a row. So that's where it's not pulling up the homepage. Interesting. There it is. So let's see. I'm going to put the note here. It says no live stream. What is a week from now? The 28th? No live stream. September 28th. I will see you all at the auction. There we go. Get that up there. Bold, italicized, heading 3 perhaps. And it's official. Okay. So yes, no live stream on September 28th. 1 week. Because again, you guys are going to have me for the whole long weekend. You sit there and atrophy for 72 hours. Yeah. Is it 72? No, it's going to be 36 hours, but it may be longer than that. I have to watch during school, yeah, for the Friday stuff. Jane says, unfortunate 3-month hiatus. Lost some cultures, my P. verneri, but I had some surprises in that more obscure stuff like pergodesmids, Kambala, Platyarthus, and all my micro roaches. Darwin through. Did you have success with Kambala? I've been having, over the winter or ever late spring, the pergodesmids I collected with the pill millipedes in Auburn were on the upswing, and now they seem to be kind of stagnating or not doing much of anything. I have a species from Southeast Asia too that's just in with another millipede that seems to be doing pretty well, but these ones from Auburn were doing well when the pills weren't doing well, and now the pills are actually doing pretty well, and now the pergodesmids aren't quite doing as well. So that's good. What seems to be what's getting them breeding? What's getting the Kambala going? Because I just checked on mine, and I was using them just to sort of like facilitate some good isopod breeding in one of the, I can't remember what culture they're in with, but they seem to be helping with that. There we go. I can put this up. Yeah, it's not too bad. I'm going to turn this light off. There we go. Gotta enjoy the natural light while we can, because fall is pretty much here. So, but yeah, always good to hear weird stuff doing well. I'm trying to think of anything weird stuff that's doing particularly well for me currently. I did ice spot husbandry for the first time in 2 months, and things are showing that they haven't had food or water in some cases for 2 months. But I think most of my stuff's going to be okay. There are some things that turned around, like my spotter geists are coming back, which is good. And something that wasn't looking so good. Purple ghosts not purple ghosts. Red edge, species red edge weren't looking the hottest. I just need to do more isopod husbandry, basically, but it's just so time consuming, and there's so many. Chain's been using old raccoon poop based on some breeding. They eat it preferentially in their breeding. That's so weird. That's really weird, Chain. I don't know if I want to accommodate that in captivity. I mean, maybe they like to eat manure type stuff. Joseph Tevere, I see the cockroach emoji. Welcome. I think you're a new face. Exotic Wilderness has just discovered the Borneo leaf mimics, and oh boy, apparently is in love with them. So that's good. I am just gonna. I'm a little scared of this thing, actually. We need some show bug, even if it's not the auction. But I figured I would just bring this out, and I am probably going to get bit by this. I just have to be very unassuming. So I need to look up the full Latin for this. It's one of those subspecies of stag beetles. Prosopocoilus bison. I need to double check the subspecies. I think it's Kinctus. Prosopocoilus bison Kinctus. So we've got just some pre-gaming for the auction. Some of the stuff that's going to be available. And oh god, I really hope it does not decide to pinch me. I got to hold it over here so it's at least kind of in focus, because this guy's been very bitey. Anthony Green says, I'm working on culturing out Cubaris Red Edge Orange. Put 2 orange and 2 T plus together and got some more orange phase. Yeah, when I received oranges, I received 5 or 6, and I did a trade with some random person on Fauna Classifieds, and they sent me 5 or 6 oranges, and they did really well. And then I noticed that there were quite a few lighter individuals popping up. But I'm wondering if it might be sex linked, or it might be like Sherbert Porcelio Scaber, where the lighter ones might mostly be females, if there might be some weird genetics going on there. I need to check my Sherberts today. Angela, being the peach that she is, has been helping me with isopod husbandry today. And we got through 2 times 6, 12 times 4, 40. We got through about 100 cultures already, and we have another 188 to go. And that's what I'm going to be doing after the live stream. So she's absolutely wonderful and has been ferrying containers for me to work on so I can get through everything in a proper amount of time. So that's what I'm going to be doing after the live stream, which I don't intend this to be a very long stream with the time commitment coming up next week. Blast Cat, sorry I'm a bit late. I didn't realize you live stream. I need to message you on Discord. The things you sent all got here in good shape. Thank you again for all those delightful new things, especially the Pro Porcelio. Very excited to set those up. It's going to have to wait until I finish my regular isopod husbandry tonight, but it should happen. But yeah, just in general, I need to do more isopod husbandry. Once every 2 months is not going to cut it, but it's just difficult when it's just me, and I'm glad that I was able to do what I did. In fact, I'm eyeballing, like, after the auction, and I don't know how this is going to work into things, but like I need to probably redo all my isopod enclosures, like completely wipe the substrate, pick however many to restart the colony, and then just start from scratch in a lot of them, because the substrate from them eating all the stuff I put in has just built up so much in the last how many months has it been? In the last 8 months. So yeah, I really need to do that. It's got we always got coconut fiber strand stuck between his elytra, but I really shouldn't pull it out unless I want to get pinched. Okay, there we go. So I really need to do that for the future of my cultures. Oh, there goes a hawk. Sustainability, especially going into the winter time. But yeah, it's just been a lot. Mandibles. Orang Mango hopes to get some beetles this auction. Should be a very good selection of beetles at this auction. And I was going to make a footnote. I'm just too lazy to go back and change it everywhere. But so the beetles auction will not include some of the fan favorite things like the carpet beetles and the grain pests. That will actually be a miscellaneous thing late night Sunday. It's going to become a tradition. So Tennyson asked about Pro Porcelio volcanicus. Blastcast says it is now Pro Porcelio volcanius. Volcanicus is an unjustified emendation. Okay, good to know. Somebody asked about domino roaches this time around. Yes, regular dominoes, orange dominoes, and question marks will all be at the auction. Also, we will be doing lightning rounds at the end of the auction for smaller groups of stuff, and that will be Sunday night, because I'm going to use that as sort of a time to try and hit some quotas for what I'd like to make from the auction, moving into the future. For Roach crossing and stuff, there's a lot of, if a lot of things go according to plan in the next, basically between now and the new year, I could be moved out by April into the new facility, and that would just be phenomenal. But there's a lot of stuff, a lot of caveat, lot of things that need to be discussed. Just so many gears turning right now. Magnificent Animals wants more Pachnota. All 3 species of Pachnota will be at the auction. All 3 U.S. cultured species of Pachnota. And then Gymnetus should be available. Dichronorhina. Maybe some Cetoniscoma, 2 color forms of Cetoniscoma may be available. Euphoria sepulchralis from Homestead, Florida, stuff like that. Anthony Green says, Officinalis Israel I got last auction. Finally putting out good babies. Very happy to see them going. Have you got to see the Officinalis Orange Crush yet? Curious what they are, Israel or... I have no idea on the origins of those red varieties of Officinalis, if they are from the Israel. I would think based on... So I received red, Officinalis Orange, and Officinalis Orange Crush. I think that they're just 3 different sellers' names for the same thing. And because they all look very similar, and I can't find any additional information on the strains because that's how it is. But they all seem easy. I'm really hoping somebody will get a Officinalis Dalmatian mutation isolated. I think that would just be the bee's knees. I would love that. Have you tried eating Talinum paniculatum before? Jewel of Opar. I'm going to look that up. No, I've never heard of that. No, maybe I did hear of it once before. Fame flower. That'd be interesting. I could give that a go eventually. I really got to move. Angela and I have been discussing. I'm going to collect them all. Heart Officinalis. Yeah, it's a lovely genus. Armadillo is. Oh man, I ticked it off a little bit. Sorry. What I was going to say is, oh no, don't pinch, no pinch. Angela and I have been discussing the logistics of what could happen if it's as straightforward as me moving to the estate, and it could be such that I'm able to sell my house. First of all, move everything out of the house and sell it, which would be very helpful when showing the house if it's not full of bugs. And the other thing that we had discussed was what to do with the money that I would make from selling my house, because the value's gone up a bunch since I bought it, and that money will be used to fund the Roach building in its entirely. Why am I stroking him? I don't think they mind this. It's just like sudden prodding and like flicking seems to make them go into aggro mode. Put him back over here. So, but basically we've been discussing like, what would we do in that situation, and I don't know how much the Roach building's gonna end up costing with all the stuff that I want to put into it. I'm imagining I would be happy and surprised if it costs less than $50,000, but it's probably going to cost more than that, I would think, to do like a good job and to have it so that it can be, like solid floors and have USDA for certified rooms and areas and stuff like that. But then we were discussing, we got to have some money on hand for the future, and we want to have kids and all this other stuff. So thinking about if it would be reasonable to jump right into getting the conservatory built as soon as I move. And that would be great because then great for me because then I could relax in the winter somewhere and not have to go to Florida to get away from the cold and all that stuff. But it would be great because then I'd have somewhere to keep tropical and subtropical plants right away. And that would be really good, I think, for that interest and for keeping stuff like those not hardy things like that Jewel of Opar. So I do have quite a few tropical plants, not enough to justify getting a conservatory right away on that alone. But I mean, the conservatory would end up being multi-purpose, so there's that too. So we have a lot of things to talk about and think about and all of that jazz. Oh, this guy's got strong grip. Please, no pinch. I'm trying to get him off so that I could maybe show off a different insect. But yeah, so larvae of these will be available at the auction. The Prosopocoilus bison, I think the subspecies is Cinctus. So any other questions on things that may or may not be available at the auction? October is going to be a crazy month for me, as it was last year. But I'm looking forward to it because, again, funds are nice. It's very nice to have funds, especially with the move coming. Aranavega, there will be Aranavega at the auction. Type of arachnids. Well, some recluses really won't be too crazy of a selection of arachnids, although I'm being talked into getting some jumping spiders by a certain supplier, JoJo. They are trying to talk me into getting some for the auction. So, but I'm not 100% sure if I want to commit to that. Tracklin. Oh, you're the person who inquired about the best beetles. Yeah, I'd probably clear the inbox again tomorrow morning or maybe tonight. We'll see. I got to see when Angela gets home too, because when she gets back here, we're gonna get dinner cooking, and then we're gonna go and keep working on isopod husbandry. Magnificent Animals asked about Jocelyn. I know I mentioned them. Yes, there should be some two different color varieties of Cetoniscum available at the auction. Hopefully, I do need to check the Speciosa Jocelyn, but yeah. So this should be a really good auction all around. I am thinking isopods may be a little wanting with respect to diversity, or maybe not diversity. It should be a good diversity, but volume of stuff, because no, I haven't. The blues, I've just gotten my adults for the first time, so I'm not 100% sure on the other one being available. But there should be a good diversity of isopods. I'm just not sure if there's going to be the volume, but people don't always want volume of things too, is what I figured out. I figured, actually, I'm going to put this guy back, and I'm going to throw a poll up here and get people's opinions on counts and quantities. Have any of your strain of Orange Vigor, you mean the original strain of Orange Vigor? Good question. I need to check on them still. It's one of the containers Angela and I haven't gotten to. So I'm not 100% sure if they will be available. There should be some magic potions. Almost certainly will be some magic potions. What was I just about to look up? I was putting that there. I was going to put a poll up here and just sort of get a general idea. Do you prefer larger or smaller quantities of bugs per set at the auction? Larger, smaller. Because some people get very put off by seeing that there's a group of like 100 of something, and then like for stuff like ectobia roaches, it's like 100 will fit into like a tiny deli cup with plenty of elbow room. So it's like, it doesn't really matter, I guess. If you get 100, it's just like the space you should use for 12 is the same amount of space that you should use for like 100 or something like that. So large, okay, more. Let's see what the numbers are on this. 88%, 8 votes. So because again, there have been times where I put up a group of like 50 of something, and people won't want it, and then we'll do the lightning round, and there'll be a group of like 12, and the 12 count will go for like very similar in price to the 50 count. Exotic Willingness is asking when the website redo is going to happen. So the groundwork will start. It will basically start in November, pending a bunch of people's availability and generosity, and probably continue for another 2-3 months. Lightning round is just too exciting. Yeah, I know, it's very exciting. So that's why I figured we would do that. It's a good way to wrap things up. I don't know if it'll be the absolute end or if we'll flail around with carpet beetles and grain pests on Sunday night, which I do have more species of those now. There is more stuff in that category available now. So it'll be a fun time. Sunday night will be a fun time. I'll just keep telling myself to look forward to that. Yeah, reminding me, I need to message somebody about something as I stock some stuff. All right, Tafaliska. I have 2 cultures of Taphiliska, and I think every year I'm just gonna add another container of them to my menagerie because I like them so much. I really don't ever want to lose them. So now, pretty soon, I'll be at 3 cultures of Taphiliska, Eleuthera, and then obviously that's going to be going on the website in the future, and people will be very into them at that point. Jojo says, I want to schedule stuff in next week, just going crazy over here for the next few days. Yes, Jojo, we definitely need to schedule something. Although tomorrow night, Saturday, and Sunday, I'm going to be taking some time off. Saturday, I'm just going to Angela's house to help her dad or help her with stuff at her dad's, with her dad's stuff. And I think we might shoot some bows and stuff like that. And then Sunday, going to go with my parents to an apple orchard with her or to a cider mill. Just do something kind of to take the edge off before next week is my last heavy shipping week before the auction, and then just sort of wrap up, tie up some loose ends Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as much as I can before being stuck in this room for 12 hours a day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then Thursday, we're going to go shopping too for food to get ready for that. It's going to be nuts. And I would not be able to do it like this without Angela. She is just a saint. So, but yeah, any other questions about stuff that might be available? Trey Clint just wondering when you ship live items. So I usually ship on Tuesdays, and because of the auction coming up and my shipping schedule, a lot of stuff that's any orders, standard commercial orders that are being placed right now will not ship until like October, 9th or 10th, because I'm going to be taking the week of October 1st completely off of stuff to recover from the auction and get back on top of stuff. I gotta stay even keel with husbandry. Otherwise, it just piles up and it'll just drive me nuts. But I am very blessed to have 2 people assisting me on Saturday with just stuff. What are you most excited to auction? Do you have any sneaky surprises? I'll give a sneak peek of it here. So last auction, we had the picture of me, the eternal sunshine of the roachless mind that went up, and Steve was very happy with receiving it. I did take him a while because Angela had to go print it at CVS, and her dad passed away, and that was a whole thing. And she actually picked out a very nice frame for it. It was a very gothic looking frame, and it really fit the picture. So I like this idea of auctioning off these pictures of me that Brandon has taken, usually without me knowing. Brandon is an absolutely horrible photographer, except for bugs. He's great at taking macro pictures of bugs with his phone. He's got a good knack for that. But taking pictures of people, he's an awful photographer, unless they're candid shots. He gets very good candid shots of people. So I think this is going to be the auction picture. And I haven't come up with the name for it. But this will be the auction picture, I think, that goes up this time around. And I'll come up with a name for it for the auction and see how that goes. But I am excited just to see the shenanigans that take place from that. And there is one more top super secret, not bug thing that I'm going to put up for auction, and that is going to be a huge sneaky surprise, and very interested to see where that goes too. Yeah, want some Coke? And should a couple of things go particularly well, one date with Kyle, hilarious. Tracklin, I will respond to your email again whenever I clear the inbox next, which will either be later today or tomorrow morning, where I will send you my PayPal or my Zelle links, and you can send the payment that way. So, but again, for the auction, there's also for sneaky surprises and stuff is if the stars align for a couple of things within the next week, there could be some really good stuff up for auction and or giveaways I would really like to do that. Exotic Wilderness asks about Armadillidium badium dacia. Somebody was it Small Gwenny maybe, who was trying to claim the bounty for the Porcelio Scaber whiteout, the pure stock. Sent me some and said the person was confident that they were pure whiteouts, and then I received it and it was Porcelionides prunosus and not Porcelio Scaber. That's just a thing that's going to happen to everybody nowadays. Just accept it. Isopod hobbyists, this is the world you made for yourself. But anyway, so unfortunately she couldn't claim the $12 for $1,000 bounty on the Scaber whiteouts, but she was kind enough. Again, I think it was Small Gwenny. It may not have been. Sorry if I'm forgetting your name. There's just so many names in a day. But she sent a culture of Armadillium badium along with them. And I was like, okay, cool. This is a very Vulgari-esque looking species, and I just set them up, and I think I had babies the last time that I checked on them, so that's cool. And they'll be getting checked later tonight when I finish up isopod husbandry. So far their husbandries has just been like the same as Vulgari. It's just basic Armadillidium. And speaking of which, I do still want the Armadillidium fronta triangulum from Albania. If anybody has those available, is working with them, I would love to trade and just work with that stock again. I talked last time how I sent some Punta Canas to somebody, and then lost my culture, and then they sent some back, and the genetic drift. I don't think it's compromised. I don't think the stock is compromised, but the genetic drift from smaller and smaller populations of Punta Canas in my care has definitely restricted the phenotype expression, the phenotypes that pop up in the stock. So if anybody here has some like old original import Punta Canas, I really, really still want those, especially if you've maintained a pretty sizable colony, because there's a lot of variation in there that I've lost in my stock, and I would like to get it back, or even just start over with stock from somebody who's kept them at larger numbers. Because the stock that I have has there's a lot of oranges. I don't think it's single gene, it's multi-gene. I think in that phenotype in that stock is multi-gene, I'm pretty sure. But I miss some of the other phenotypes that would pop up, the different other color combinations. I'm just not seeing them because my stocks, inbreeds and then population swells and then decreases and swells, and that's just sort of restricted the amount of diversity. It just reduced the genetic diversity there in terms of phenotype presentation. So in the bounties page obviously will get updated. I was very happy to have found those original import blonde duckies. I was so excited to find those. I might actually have some up for auction. I need to check on them. They're on a different rack than most of the other isopods because I really, really, really wanted to keep them, because when I do the website overhaul, I get to hammer in with all these isopods like, hey, this isn't what you were sold. This is where this actually comes from and all this other stuff. And I can get that information out there. Speaking of isopods, not letting this become a strictly isopods Roach live stream, but Blast Cat, who I don't know if they're still here or not, but Blast Cat did some examination of dairy cows and milkbacks and other stuff that's in that clade of Porcelio, and with the hybridization experiments and now this morphological evidence has determined with absolute certainty that they are not Porcelio levis. They won't cross with them, and morphologically they are very similar but still quite different if you look at them. If you look close enough at like the wild types of both of them, do look quite different. And also I think it was the exopodite number 1 differs between the two of them, which is apparently a substantial diagnostic character in this context. And so dairy cows are they're not actually levis. We don't know what they are, but they're not levis, and I felt it. I did run on to Roach Crossing, and I updated that, and also slapped a fun new common name on them because they're not smooth isopods anymore. So, but just so you know, guys, it is now even more illegal to move dairy cows across state lines. You are being bad people if you are sending dairy cows anywhere in the United States, because they're not Porcelio levis, and you are a bad person. And your billion forged permits do not make you a better person. And there's my rant. Thank you for coming to my roach wiggle. That didn't have anything to do with roaches. So, yeah, fun times in the isopod hobby. Always fun times. Let's see, anything else of importance to bring up? Looking at the Bugapalooza ad to see what all I've got on there. Just I might as well go over what's on there while I'm here. Am I still on? Turn on the light over here. There we go. Man, I can't wait to update the streaming everything when I move, like have proper backlighting, and it is very atmospheric to have it be in and among the culture room, but it would be nice to have a little bit more professional quality over stuff. And again, as I've been saying, we will one day reach that point where I can have a window within the live stream, or switch between, whether I'm the big face or the bug is the big face on the screen, of a magnified area, and really get into some of the stuff. Really opens up a lot of things. Could even go just catch stuff from outside. Kyle, no sleep speed run. Yeah, that's going to be my life on next weekend. Well, let me grab one more show bug while we're here. So there was a fiasco with these at the spring auction because I accidentally poisoned them with the blackberry rust infected plants, and there was a whole thing where I had to send refunds to people, and Christine was very patient and actually was willing to wait until I had more of them available. And I actually just sent her a box with them in it this week. Actually, you should see if she sent me a response to. See, send me a response here. Has not responded yet, but anyway, so there's a box of them going on their way. And by the way, but we don't have, the rust is not an issue in the fall here, and so these lovelies will be up for auction. Feeding phasmids in the winter, I really try to make it so that I have eggs over the winter, ideally. Or if I can't manage that, I try to focus on species where feeding them in the winter is not impossible. So stuff like Peru phasma and Anisomorpha and the megaphasma that eat red cedar, those are all things that I gravitate towards because it's very easy. I love those red cedar eating megaphasmas so much. I will have some eggs of those available at the auction too. Or you could just live in the South, like Mr. Satchel Watsaki there, where your brambles are evergreen year round. So, but yeah, it's a pretty little lichen morph. Maybe I can show this off a little bit better. Oh yeah, there we go. Nice like little lichen-morphic statosoma right there. So Leah says Leah Eiler says real. So and this is obviously just a little baby boobop here. So very handsome. I was gonna show off a Dynasties Grantii male, but I don't know if I feel like taking all that statosoma cage off of that and getting him out. So this will do for now. But and Satchel has cheats. Yes, he does. Exotic Wilderness. I'm really excited for next week just to see my Anisomorpha are going through privet so fast. Good thing privet's invasive down there. I mean, actually, that's another nice thing is the species I tend to keep eat invasive stuff. So like privet and honeysuckle and forsythia are all like very common, either introduced or invasive shrubs here, and they keep their leaves very long into winter. So that's nice. But that's another reason why I get roach crossing going in the future. Can build a greenhouse or sort of a cold frame area off of roach crossing and extend the season on a lot of host plants for things. So Bentley is talking about getting some tropical rubus and growing them indoors. I don't know if there are tropical rubus, but if there are, you let me know if you find them, because that would be very easy. Blast Cat saying, it is indeed the endopodite of Pleopod 1. I am making it harder for people to sell isopods one species at a time. I mean, really, it'll take cues from the reptile hobby, the reptile industry and the fish industry / hobby, where there will be a handful of people who have legitimate things of what they say they have and who know the whole story behind it. And then there will be trade strains and names for stuff going around. And it'll probably just always be like that. It will probably take a very long time for people to call the dairy cows anything other than Levis, especially with the permit situation, will be the biggest factor in that. Will be people doing that, although they don't really seem to care with all the Cubaris and Nasodillo and whatnot. But that will be a significant factor, I feel, in slowing any sort of, there's a handful of people who introduce things and they slap the names on them, and people see that, and that sort of generates the momentum for people further down the stream, and then everybody just sort of picks it up and runs with whatever they say because that's what makes the money. And then, it takes significant force and information to sort of change that. I mean, Blast Cat, you saw that with telling people about the dairy cow situation in the first place. And the hilarious thing that that I find is people, of course, we should trust empirical evidence and empiricism, but people are very much so inclined to sort of like doubt demonstrable evidence, not even within a reason of doubt, like posting pictures of different morphological differences and then also adding to that, I personally did these crosses and stuff. People are very quick to scream at you about how you're wrong about the dairy cows that they bought from their local reptile expo from some random person who didn't even have a Latin name on them. They're very quick to be savage about, how dare you say that they're not what I was sold at the expo for $15 or whatever, Alan was trying to keep Anisomorpha on Fragaria, but died after eating. I don't think they really like rosacea stuff a lot. Anisomorpha, I don't think. Satchel saying, in his very professional opinion, dairy cows never seem to be Levis to him. And when I first got in dairy cows, I thought, oh yeah, these are Levis. They have the smooth appearance, but it was weird when they started getting much larger than most strains of Levis got. Like some of the ones from Arizona can get very large, like about an inch, but the dairy cows, they just seem to reach that so easily and so readily, and they just have a much more, their exoskeleton seems a lot denser or more enforced than Levis do too. So, but that also reminds me, I need to check on my regular cow, Porcelio F Levis tonight. Anisomorpha ate the entire Fragaria plant I threw in, but died 2 days later. Interesting. Was that just out of your yard, or? Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that's really weird. I don't know why they would eat something and then just keel over, unless, I mean, if it was wild caught, maybe it had something else wrong with it, and that was just how it expressed. It just had a really good meal and then it died. Ellen, just feed them Chinese privet. Yeah. I my parents' neighborhood, there's been this hedgerow down the street for as long as I've been alive of some sort of privet. And as soon as I started when I started working with stick bugs, I would just keep my eye on it, because I thought, like, I thought it could be useful one day because even into like December in Michigan, it still had a lot of its leaves and they were green, which is very weird because even though privet will hold on to its leaves a long time, like Chinese privet and those other hybrids will hold on to their leaves a long time in Michigan. Usually by like January, stuff starts looking pretty bare, but pretty reliably. And into the cage you go. And into the cage you go. Anyways, pretty reliably, um, the again, that stuff down the street always had leaves late into winter time. So I figured, whatever hybrid or horticultural abomination it was would probably keep a lot of its leaves through the winter with some protection in a greenhouse or something. So I finally took some cuttings from it. There's been a lot of change of hands of houses in that neighborhood lately, and there are really old trees that people just decided to cut down. They cut down the big silver maples and the oaks and the sycamores, stuff that was planted there like back in the 40s or 50s. And, even though it's not warping the sidewalk or anything, and then they slap a Norway maple or a golden rain tree or a red maple and like right next to where it was. It's like, why did you cut down I don't understand. But anyway, so, I just sort of look around and look at things and like there's only a matter of time until somebody decides to rip this out, so I figured I should hop on it. So yeah, the one that really made me mad was, I don't know what it's like to live, I don't know what it was like to live in that house with the tree over it, but it didn't warp the sidewalk. But there was a gigantic silver maple that had the trunk diameter was probably about 5 feet, could have been 6 feet, 5 feet, growing on the easement with the city. And, nothing was wrong with the tree. There weren't any dead branches or anything like that. They just cut it down. And it really changes the character of the neighborhood when you do something like that, too. People really like seeing those big old trees in places. And so, again, I don't know why they did it, but they cut it down. And also had a really nice tree cavity in it that fox squirrels used to nest in. But anyways, I see stuff like that, and I just think, it's only a matter of time until something gets bulldozed or ripped out or fumigated or clear cut or blah, blah, blah. So, anyways, that's why I took the privet cuttings. Again, probably a hedgerow that's been there since like the 50s or 60s of some variety that's now out of commerce because it's too leggy or it's too this or whatever. But I figured it would be useful for the future. So now I have it, and I'll propagate it and promptly remove any berries if it's kept outdoors. Satchel's, honestly, if I had my removed the two giant water oaks over my house, I've already had a huge branch. Yeah, see, that's the thing though, is if the tree is too close to the house, it's a hazard for that reason. But this tree was like, I don't know, 100 feet away from the house, 150 feet away, and not very tall for having such a large diameter trunk. Like it might have only been about 100 feet tall at its highest point. A lot of the silver maples in that neighborhood, I don't know if it's a specific variety or something, they get a nice beefy trunk, and maybe it's because the water table is not high enough or something, but they just never got really full at the top. So you get like a nice big beefy trunk, and then a couple of sizable branches coming off of that, limbs coming off of that. Actually, very aesthetic trees. Jonathan Green says, we just had to cut down a 120-year-old white oak in my yard that only had 3 feet of root depth. Beautiful, probably 3 feet diameter trunk. Yeah, geez, only 3 feet of root depth. That's pretty crazy. I'm curious what the root depth is on the black oaks in my backyard. I imagine they probably go pretty deep, because the one that snapped in half a couple of years ago, even with the weight of it falling over and snapping, did not uproot the base of the plant. So I imagine those are some pretty deep and sturdy roots going into the sand back there. But that being said, if things do go through with Angela's property and the operation does end up getting moved there, it is on near the top of my land management priorities to pretty much cut down every tree, have every tree cut down, and what can't be used or sold for lumber will be ground up and turned into bug food. And that is because I want to terraform everything from the ground up. There are some things that I will keep. There are some black oaks that are black maples that are going to be very good for maple syruping and leaf production. And then there's more oaks and hickories towards the back. But to do what I want to do with rotational pastures and all the gardening I want to do, sun is a precious commodity. It is a very precious commodity. If you live in the suburbs and you don't have to produce your own food, who cares if you're living in deep shade? But if you want to actually produce anything, you really need to have as much sun as possible, especially at this latitude. So the property itself is 8 acres. It's a kind of narrow chunk of property. I think maybe it's with, actually, I don't know how wide the whole property is. So, but the big thing that things are hinging on is the neighbor has property with some old pastures and stuff. And we want to see if we can either buy that strip of land to get our acreage up, or if we could buy the entire property next door. And we got to see they're talking about something happened within their family, and they're looking to sell it, but maybe they're not going to sell it because they use some of the land for hunting and all this other stuff. But we gotta contact them and sort of see what we can do, because when I'm at Angela's house and I look out the back door, I see the spot on the neighbor's like old fallow pasture that would just be, I can just see it being perfect for like the future Roach Crossing building. I just look at that spot and I know right there, that is exactly where I would want to have it. So yeah, hoping that we can get up to 20 acres cumulatively. I will probably settle for less than that if we can really get those other pastures. So we'll see. Blastcat says, by the way, Propocelio volcanius throws intersex individuals sometimes due to Wolbachia. I just found one while listening to this live. I believe it's the first record for the genus. Very interesting. I wonder if that explains when I was working with, when I was one of the lines of the red sex-linked calico Procelio scaber, there would be times where I would find not even like a convergent calico phenotype, but straight up red calico, pure United States landrace stock, male red calicos in with the Procelio scaber. And I would isolate them with females, and I would never get any young. So I always thought, that's kind of weird. Maybe these males are sterile. They had the modifications on the underside of the Telson. This is a male, no questions asked. This thing's like half an inch long. I can see all the bits. It's a male. But then the dorsal pattern was a typical red calico. I always thought it was a genetic thing, maybe that I had inbred them enough times or something that, some weird double homozygous recessive was going on and was resulting in red calico males that were sterile. But maybe it was Wolbachia that was doing that. So, but yeah, that might explain a couple of things, a couple of phenomena that I've seen over the years with stuff. It would definitely explain that in the scaber. So, thank you for sharing that, Blastcat. So other things, other goings-ons. Not a crazy amount of stuff to write home about. There's not really any crazy new projects that I've gotten that I'm just over the moon for. There's a box of about 70 brown recluses sitting in my kitchen right now that I need to confront tonight or tomorrow. Just have to decide which is going to be best. Tyler, if you're listening to this, I haven't opened the box yet. I was waiting for your text on whether or not there could be escapes or not. So, yeah, I'm trying to think anything else I'm pretty hype about. We have, thanks to Angela's dad, rest in peace, Jim, we have the showy moth flies in culture again. So we have Lepisiodina conspicua. I found a tree hole, partial rock hole thing on the property the day that he passed that had Lepisiodina larvae in it, and I've been able to reculture them again. So now the moth fly hobby is growing at an exponential rate in the United States. Wait, just you all wait. Give it a couple more years, and everybody will be clamoring for the newest moth flies and smuggling them in from Southeast Asia in all sorts of exacerbated attempts to make their fortune. So we now have the Clogmia albipunctata, Psychota species, Cetomyma nitida, and Lepisiodina conspicua in culture. I had thought that some moth flies that Will and I collected at the Fen a couple weeks ago were another member of the tribe or subfamily that Clogmia are in. But then the diagnostic character for Clogmia among those shaped moth flies is apparently 2 spots on the wings. And when I was looking at them in the culture cup, I could not see the spots, so I assumed that it was this other genus. But then I had the audacity to open the Swarming with Adults culture cup to, I think I was going to remove something from inside of there. And a couple of the adults sticked around on the walls, and I was able to look at them with a headlamp on. Instead of from a lower angle or a straight on angle, I was able to look at them from a more up top, down from the top angle, and saw that there were these 2 spots on each of the wings. So they're more than likely just another line of Clogmia that were living in the wild near the Fen, which sucks because there are several pretty species that we've seen at the Fen. We've gone to the Fen specifically to collect and try to culture, but it's a fool's errand to collect adult moth flies and try to culture them using the adults because they're just so fragile and they just do not live very long. Like the process of collecting them is too much for them even. So what you really have to do is find the sludge or whatever the larvae are living in, collect that, get the adults to emerge in captivity, and then just let them keep cycling over in the enclosure, which can be very annoying. For example, there's some primitive species of moth fly that I keep seeing when we go to Hurricane Creek in Alabama that has adults that look, instead of being cute sewer fairy phenotype, they look more like those biting sandflies that give you, what's that disease that you get from sandflies? Leishmaniasis, that's it. So there are moth flies that look like the sandflies that give you leishmaniasis, and I think that's really cool. And I would love to culture them. But then I look at that area that we're finding them in, and I am like almost absolutely certain that the habitat for the larvae is like the limestone crags in the like temporary streams and stuff that form, and that the larvae are like tucked 3 feet back in like a wet hole in the limestone, and there's just no way I'm going to be able to collect those. So, I'll probably be dumb and try to collect adults again, or maybe I'll get lucky and find like some rotting organic patch under one of those limestone things that just happens to have a bunch of moth fly larvae in it. A man can hope to be so lucky to find tree holes. It's actually very exciting to find tree holes. It's always like, ooh, what's in this one? And that Hurricane Creek tree hole did have those neon purple springtails in it. I'm wondering how I'm going to try and collect those again. I tried to use a pooter on them, but there's just so much stuff in Hurricane Creek when I go there. It's just like, collect that, collect that, collect that, collect that. So it's very difficult to stay on task with any one specific thing when there's a bunch of other things you could be finding. But maybe next year I'll put an even stronger emphasis on collecting the moth flies and the neon purple springtails there. So we're coming up on 1 hour, guys. And as much as I would love to stick around, I do have 188 isopod cultures to check on tonight and some emails to do. So I'm going to wrap the stream up now. It's been a pleasure. I see our poll results there where people do want larger quantities of bugs at the auction. So I will keep that in mind moving into things. And of course, it won't necessarily be the case with the lightning round when that happens. So I look forward to seeing everybody next week at the auction, whether you can come for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, or 5 hours. I'll be here 3 days in a row, auctioning off some nifty bugs, having some good company. Hopefully we get some good memes going like times before. And yeah, it should be a really good time. Angela's gonna make me some really good food to keep me alive, so I'm looking forward to that too. Shouldn't be that bad. So all right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you all at the auction next week, and until then and after the auction, may your cultures ever be bountiful.